Hello, today we're going to talk about the Braun Dialog Plus machine and give you a brief overview of what the machine does and its uses in home dialysis. We'll start at the front of the machine. Here is your display. This is a touchscreen display. It will show you all the messages and information that is relevant to your dialysis. We have the indicators. These are a red, amber and green type indicator, depending on what alarm or what message you may or may not have while the treatment is ongoing. Down the bottom here is your blood pump control. We have start-stop. We have a button to slow your blood pump. We have a button to speed up your blood pump. This is your alarm silence and reset button. And this is your confirmation button that you will use if you change certain parameters or have to accept certain messages on the machine. Moving to this section here, we have the blood section. This is our heparin pump driver. This may not be used in certain aspects within the Cardiff and Vale board, but is used in other home patients. We have our pressure sensors. These read the line pressures for the machine. This one is venous, arterial, a system pressure, which again in Cardiff and Vale we don't use, and PBE or pressure before entry. We have two blood pumps on this machine. The left-hand one is the one that we use for our treatments. The right-hand one would be used for a double pump type treatment. Again, depends on where you're dialysing and what sort of treatment you're set up on. Again, Cardiff and Vale do use the single pump one at this time. Here we have the acid probe intake, which you remove and would place into your acid can, like so. The machine will then draw up the acid concentrate. We then have an arterial line clamp. This is specific to a double pump machine. If it was a single pump machine, you would only have a venous clamp. We have a venous clamp. Obviously the clamps are there. They will act on an alarm to stop any blood from being drawn into the machine or air coming back to yourself in the event of an alarm, if it was an air detection alarm. And here we have something called an SAD, a saline air detector. This particular device will read for air, saline and the presence of blood. So it's a 3-in-1 detector for this machine. The blue port is not used at this time. At the bottom is where we place our acid can and any other components that you may want to put there. Again, there's nothing more other than just storage at the bottom of here that is relevant to the machine. On this machine, the casters on the front are how you brake the machine to stop it from moving. Simply push the levers into place. That then locks your machine to stop it from moving. To release, push the levers back up, the machine is free to move again. On the left-hand side of the machine, we'll start with the monitor. The monitor is rotatable. It will also rotate to the right as well, but you have more rotation to the left. The slight limitation is due to the drip stand for the rotation. We also have a card reader, which won't be used in the installation of a home. This is purely for satellite use, but it's an option that is included on all machines at manufacture. And we have your ABPM port with your cuff and line for reading the blood pressure as and when required. On this side of the machine, you have your IV pole. Similar to a Fresenius, using this collar, if you lift the collar up, you can raise and lower the IV pole as you require. Saline bags will be hung off these hooks here. Moving down, we have the actual dialyzer holder. It's adjustable to any area here that you require, but this would generally be the area you would find the holder to be locked in place. Your dialysis connectors can go onto the rinse bridge in any way. To remove, pull the collar back and pull off the machine. Likewise for the red one. When you finished your dialysis and your dialyzer has been drained, it doesn't matter which way round these are connected. As long as they're on the rinse bridge at the end of your treatment and they're on there securely, disinfection will take place correctly. The holder will be put in this closed position when the machine is in disinfection. When the machine is going through its self-checks and into dialysis, the holder would be open with your cartridge installed. Moving to the rear of the machine, we have the machine's on-off button. We also have a DF filter. These in Cardiff and Vale are replaced by us, the technicians. It is not replaced by the actual home patient. We also have, coiled around the cooling fan intake, the equipotential earth cable, which is basically the additional earth bonding that we put on our machines to supplement the original earthing that the machine has. It's basically as an extra protective measure we take. Situated within the cooling duct of the fan is a blood pump crank. The machines do have a battery backup. However, should the battery backup fail while you're on the machine, this particular item is used to crank the blood pump and return the blood manually if required. Moving downwards, we have the can of citric acid, which is used for every disinfection the machine does. The machine will recognize if the can is empty and will give you a message to say that it's empty and that it needs replacing. And this sits on a shelf connected to the rear door of the machine. Moving to the lower part of the machine, we have our equipotential bonding cable connection. We also have the mains inlet connection going to the machine. This here is the product inlet, where the machine will take the RO water inside. And this is the drain line that sends the water back out to drain. On this machine, we use single pump, double needle dialysis. The blood is taken from your fistula or a line through the arterial blood line. The blood is drawn up through the arterial clamp. This is a safety device that would clamp, if required, to stop the blood from being withdrawn from the body. The blood is then drawn through the line into the blood pump, the arterial blood pump. The blood is then brought into this chamber here, which is the PBE chamber, or pressure before entry. This pressure before entry chamber is used to measure the pressure going into your dialyzer. If the dialyzer is starting to clot or block, this pressure will be increased in this chamber and it will be recognized by this sensor here, indicating that there is a potential or a possible problem with the dialyzer. Once the blood has entered the dialyzer, at the top here, the blood travels downwards through the center of the dialyzer. The fluid used to actually draw the impurities from the blood comes through the blue connector and is going in the opposite direction to the red connector and is then taken back into the machine. The process is called diffusion. The opposite directions are called contraflow, and basically it's a way of transporting the impurities from the blood out of the dialyzer to your dialysis solution and away down to drain. Once the blood has gone through the dialyzer, it then comes out into what we call the venous line. The venous line moves across the top of the machine here. The venous pressure is monitored through this chamber. The chamber will be at least half to 3/4 full. It acts as a bit of an air gap so that if any slight air bubbles may gather, they should be caught in this trap. And then the blood then moves through the chamber, through the air detector, through the venous clamp, and back out into the body, into your fistula or line. If you have a problem with your venous chamber through an air detection, if any air is detected at this point because the blood has travelled too far down, the level has travelled too far down the device, the air detector, sorry, the venous clamp will activate and stop the blood being returned back to the body. The machine will alarm, and it does give you instructions on how to rectify this issue and what to check for. On completion of the rectification of the alarm, the clamp will open and the blood will then travel back down the venous line, back into the body. That is the front of the machine, line set, and how it operates in principle. That concludes the brief talk about the Braun Dialog Plus. If you have any further questions, please contact your local dialysis team, who should be more than happy to find you the required information.